Hi, so let's get back into our Lexia accounts and instead of looking at our data and reacting to it, this time the purpose of this video is to log in, see where your students are within this program and how can you start creating groups or how can you do some pre-teaching to those individual students or to a group of students and where can you find those resources. So again, I'm back on this account. This dummy account basically for privacy reasons. And I'm going to just pick a class. I'll go into a third grade class. So here's what you see. You go in and you can see your students on the side again. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm not really going to react to these things. That was in the other video. I just want to see where my students are with a quick view of their levels. So I'm going to go to the grade level of material and I'm just going to toggle here and rank them. I can either go from highest level to lowest level and then go down my list and see where my kids are at. So when I think back to traditional groupings in the classroom, we called it guided reading. I know in my classroom I had them grouped and maybe I had them by color groups. And if you were in that blue group I had scheduled to meet with me 4 out of the 5 days a week. And those students were behind grade level or not in grade level material. So I needed to meet with them more frequently. Then I had my next color group and so on and so forth. We don't have to get away from that model of meeting with kids. The difference is now is to think of what we're doing and how flexible those groups can be, because now we're teaching skills and sometimes those skills are going to pop up with a student one week and it's going to change the next. So a way that you can use Lexia to help you with that, first just by ranking them in their grade level of material. So when I look here, okay, so this student hasn't taken the placement. I see that I have somebody, and this is third grade, that's at a level 1. I've got some here in second grade. I have some working in third grade material, quite a few. And then I have some that are above grade. So right away I can start to visually see where I would have some groupings in here. So if I have students that are going for interventions or leaving the room to do their Lexia with another teacher, I would eliminate those students out. So I'm going to say maybe this Ronald, he's leaving the room. And so now I'm going to my next tier of students. I'm going to say these students are still in the room. So right here I see I have the opportunity to have these kids working in that second grade level, pulling back to work with me for a set amount of time. So looking at this, I could see like, wow, I have a lot here in third grade where I might want to actually dissect this a little bit more and see what skills they're working, because you can see here these are on level 14 and these are on level 13. And so they're going to be working on some different skills because they're in a different part in the program. So going back up here though, I can see that I have these 3 students that are working at levels 10, 11, and 12, but they're in a second grade material, so they are a grade level behind where they should be. So in my mind I'm thinking, okay, when I had my group set up the way I had done it in the past, those kids would need to meet with me more often. So I'm thinking to myself, I would need to do more proactive, more pre-teaching for those students. So right away I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna meet with them. How can I work that into my schedule when I'm already done reacting to these things? I don't have any that need a lesson right now, so I want them to be with me for 3 days this week. So what are some things that I can do with those students? So here's where you go into your resources and you can start pulling some different things for your kiddos to be doing. So when I'm looking, I see second grade level material. I'm going to go up and I'm going to toggle to the top up here to resources. And within here, now when you look at this, I'm looking here strictly at Core 5. I'm not over in the Power Up. I'll address that here shortly. I can go into Resources Hub. I can go into the lessons. I don't really want to pull a lesson for my kids. I want to do something different. My lessons, I can use them in many different ways. But this time I want to do something where I'm just doing some pre-teaching, or I'm doing just some proactive working with my students and getting them working on some skills that I know that they're going to need. Skill builders are a great way to be doing that. They are on different levels in the program if we were to go back and look. However, I could pull something from level 10, and maybe it's in high frequency words that I know the students struggle with more. It's definitely a harder thing for them to do on their own and to get through the program. I just see that watching the data for my school as well, that maybe I'm going to do a skill builder. So I'm going to pop into skill builder, and I'm going to go into level 10, and I can see right here it's going into high frequency words right here. So I could click on this, and from here I have all kinds of activities that I can print. I do not have to print all of these. I could print some of them. And maybe this is something where I'm going to have them come back to the table, and one of those 3 days, we're just going to go through some high frequency words. Just practicing those skills, making sure that they know what these words are. In the lessons, if you've taught the lessons, they'll talk about why they're a high frequency word or why they are a heart word. So I could go back and pull that lesson as well. I'm going to go back out, and I can show you that. I can go back into my lessons, and maybe I want to just do that lesson with the kids the first day, and maybe then I want to do the skill builder the next day. So I'm going to go back to my levels, and I said that was level 10, and I'm going to pull up automaticity and fluency, because that's what high frequency words are, and I pull that lesson. So here's actually the lesson that I could teach that talks about what makes it a high frequency word or what makes it a heart word. Now, be careful with these. When you look up here too, this is specifically for level 10. I do know that level 6 and level 9, that lesson, when you look up here, it will list level 6 and 9 together. So then there's like 19 pages or 20 pages of lesson material, but that's 2 levels worth of lessons that are going to print out at one time. So the crates that were created are going to have a grade level below your material. So if you're in 3rd grade, you'll have access to 2nd grade in those crates as well. So you could go there. All the skill builders are in there as well as the lessons. So you could pull them from there. You don't have to print them from here. This is just an option. So you can go up here and toggle to the print, and you can print it here as well. I'm going to go back out into resources, and I'm going to show another part. So their 2nd grade material for my 3rd grade students. What are some other activities I could do? I could pull a lesson and work with them. I could pull a skill builder. I could also pull a connection. Connections, I didn't see these right away last summer when these crates were being constructed. I saw these connections come in a little bit later, maybe more further into the fall. So they're a little bit newer, but they're just extensions. I don't see them in the Power Up right now. They are only specifically into Core 5, but they are activities that we can connect and do with our students as offline material. That's everything I'm showing really is stuff that you can do offline with your students. So I'm going to go back to level 10 because we're talking about how these are 3rd graders working at a 2nd grade level material. And here's all of these different activities again. There's those high frequency words that I mentioned, so we can click on that and see what that looks like. And these are not in the crate, so these you would want to print if you would like to have it tangible and near you, but you could obviously sort it and put it into your crate when you're done so you have it for later. And in here, like this says on the top, the title, high frequency words, when you look, it's just several different activities that you can do with, and here they list all these high frequency words and the different levels that you see them come up. Here's level 10. And so here's some different activities you could do. I could see this being a really good thing that you could have your helper or your para do in the classroom as well. So maybe one group, in fact, they have all of the levels here. So maybe you do have some kids at level 10, but you also have some at level 6 or even at 9. You could even just print this out and maybe put a sticky note like over wordplay with the students you want them to pull back to work on the level 9 words. Or maybe they're going to do some super sort, and that's with those kids that were on level 10. And so when they come in those days, maybe they do 3 days of come back, let's work on these high frequency words. Even if they level out of it, it's not going to hurt them to get pulled back and go through those high frequency words again. Because like you saw in the previous video, checking their score when they are finished or leveling out, you know, they can just pass on regardless of what their skill check score is. So having them go back and do some work isn't going to hurt them one bit. So you can see these are all these level 10 connections that you can do. And obviously we've got all of the levels in here. So I want to go back out and take a look at our classes again. And let's just pick a different class, just to go through this one more time. So I go into 2nd grade and I want to do some grouping. I want to do some teaching. I want to get kids to the table. I want this to be actionable, that I'm working on something that they need, that Lexia is telling me, right? Because this is the progress monitoring part of this program. It's the kids are going on, they're being monitored, it's giving me feedback that next day I can look at this actionable data and go, all right, I want to teach, I want to do something with my kids at the table. How can I make this flow? So right away, here's my kids. I'm going to toggle up here and I'm just going to rank them. So now I naturally can start to see where I've got some groupings. And from there, we can dissect that a little bit more. So right here, I'm looking at these two are in level 6, and they're kind of in a similar, when you look at their progress, they're at a similar pace of progress as well. Actually, these 3 are. So I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna click on a kid just to kind of see what is something that they could be working on. So I'm gonna click on this Ona. I feel like I've picked on her before. Okay, so going in here, I can go into her skills report. I showed that last time. I'm not really reacting to what she needs in the program as far as like, does she need a lesson, but I just wanna see what are some things she's working on. So in level 6, and this is going to be all my level 6 kids, some things that they're working on. There's those high frequency words. I can see categorizing, picture phrase match, building words, consonant diagraphs. That would be a harder skill, I would imagine, for a lot of our kids. High frequency words, I talked about that already. So these might be 2 areas that would be good to check on. Remember I showed last time toggling up to the top, I can kind of see the progress. Yeah, I do think I picked on her because I remember this graph. Weird. So anyways, I'm going to go back out and look at my data table again. And maybe this time I'm going to rank them again and go into level 6 and take a look at Josie. And I'm going to go back up to her skills report. And I can see what she's working on as well, same level. And I wanted to kind of look, just I was curious, I see her rate is slow and her accuracy is medium. The other girl was low and slow. So this, yeah, high frequency words might be a good place to go. I see she hasn't done building words. She hasn't attempted it yet, so maybe this might be a good one that I could jump into since she hasn't done it yet. And Ona has tried it. I see that she did have an attempt in there. So maybe that might be a good place to go. Let's take a look at Dion. And we'll look at his skills report because he's in the same level. And it looks like he has 3 attempts that he did on building words as well. His high frequency is low and slow as well. So I would say high frequency words, building words, those are going to be maybe actually these top 3 things would be something that I would do with some proactive and some pre-teaching with those kids and get working with them as they're working through this. Remember I talked about the skill check score on the side here. They've already completed a level. You can go back and see how they did on the skill check. And I'm going to reiterate this again. If you have students that know, they can just click through that because the skill check score doesn't have to be a certain percentage and it makes them go back and redo it. Just be aware, pull that kid or pull a student back to you that you saw didn't score very well. Maybe it's an attitude thing, maybe it's just a not caring. Have the talk with them. Make sure they see that you can see. that you care, that you want them to do well, to show what they can do. So that's a good conversation to have. Just make sure you only have their data up. So I talked about the building words. So yes, building words, I can see he hasn't attempted very many. I had one that didn't attempt it at all. So that's a place that I want to create a group this week. I want to pull them, and I'm going to try to pull them for 3 days this week. And maybe it's going to be only for, 10 minutes that they're going to come to my group with me. And this is a second grade group. They don't need 10 to 15 minutes is plenty. I would not say any longer to be back doing an instructional lesson of some kind. So back out here, I can go up into my resources again, and I'm going to go in, and I have some choices here. So I could pull a lesson, and I could do the lesson with the students that's specific to that building words in level 6. I could see what the connections look like. The lessons and the skill builders would be in that crate of my material. If I'm a second grade teacher, I'm going to have access to some of those things just in the crate so I can go look at them. So let's bring up connections again, just because that is something you'll have to go on here to find. And I want to find level 6 material. And from there, I can toggle on the side here. Already it's got them chosen for me that are in level 6, the activities. And so I want to look, and there's that high frequency words. We talked about that one already. There's building words, which is going to be the skill area of phonics. And in building words, here are the activities that they suggest. So up here, they just talk about, when you're building words, you can read this yourself, what you're going to be doing. Here's the activities that you can be doing with them. Toggling down, they're giving several sample words that I can use. And it looks like a chart just showing my vowel sounds. So I could print this off and go, okay, maybe I'm just going to pick one activity. I'm going to do it those 3 days with those kids, just to give them a little extra with building words, because that's what they're going to be working on in that level. So I want to just be proactive for them and keep them working. Again, or maybe I'm going to show this to my para and have my para working on this with my students as well. Personally, I know everybody's running their rooms a little differently during Lexia time. It is nice to have a para out monitoring your students. Just things like with headphones and all the little things that are going on in the room while you can pull the students back, and then you can give your time and attention to them. So I do like these connections for that reason. Let's go back out to resources again. Maybe I don't feel like that's just meaty enough for my students. I really want to give them a lesson. And then maybe a skill builder to do some kind of practice at the table with me as a guided practice. So I'm going to go back into my lessons and back up to that program level. I'm looking for 6. And I'm looking for phonics. And in phonics, I've got all of these different skills that they're working on right now. So maybe I want to do some pre-teaching with some digraphs, maybe with some long, short vowels. I know that was definitely something that came up in the connections, was those long, short vowels. So maybe that's an area that I want to pull and actually just do a lesson with those kids. So I could pull that lesson up, or I could pull it out from the crate, depending on what you're comfortable with. And after I've pulled that lesson, maybe one of the days I'm going to do a skill builder with them. So I'm going to hop back in here, or again, I can go back into the crate. I'm going to go back into level 6, and you can see it already kind of, organizes and chooses what I have available. There's my building words, and there's a total of 8 pages, so you can toggle through and you can choose what you want to have them do, or just print them all. It's kind of your choice. But this is something, skill builders, I've talked about this in the other video too, you have choice here. It's something that you could have them do at the end of a skill check, and you're like, man, they didn't do very well in building words. I'm going to check that skill one more time. I'm going to have them come back to my table, and I want to see how they do, independently on this skill. Or maybe you want to just check that skill right now, real time. You know that they're working on this, so they're going to be. So you want to get ahead of it and give them some guidance as to what they're going to be doing. So you have some choice here with skill builders, how you'd like to do it. You can also assign it as homework. Check the skills at home and see how that they do. So this is available to you as well. So this is a way for you to go to look at your students, to rank your students, and start looking at what level that your students are in. And then from those levels, we can take a look at specific skills. So I'm just going to click on a student who is in level 5 of kindergarten. And I want to know what are some skills that is within level 5. I have other students who are also within level 5. Again, if they're all within level 5, they're all going to be working on some of the same skills at some point or another. So there would be a first grade group. So yes, my level 5 students, they are going to need some more instructional time with me at my table. So you get to decide how that structure looks. How many days? How much time do you have that you can put towards that group that you could make at this level 5? And then from here, I can take a look at some skills. What are some things that level 5 is going to be doing? What could I be pulling in to that group and work on with them? So I can see that there are, again, high frequency words pops up here in level 5. Simple word chains might be a trickier thing for students to get through. I also see that their accuracy was low. So if I went and looked at a couple of other kids, maybe I'm just looking for where is the accuracy, where's the rate, slow, low. That might be something I'm pulling those kids. That would be good, actionable, proactive lessons to do with those kids. So if I wanted to do simple word chains with that group that's at level 5, I'm just going to go through this one more time. So now I've got a group at level 5. Let's look at that again. And I was in a first grade group, and I ranked them. Remember, I toggled up here and I ranked them, so not placed. And I'm looking here, I've got one at level 2, and then I've got a big chunk here at level 5. This is where I see my opportunity to go, I can pull these 4 kids and I can create a group. And I could meet with them, I'm going to say 2 to 3 days this week. I'm going to meet and I'm going to work on a skill that I know that they're going to be hurdling through soon, or a skill that they're currently in. Maybe they've already passed it, but again, they haven't done the skill check on it, so it would be good for them to have that practice. So I click on that student that's in that level, and I just want to see what is something that they're working on in that level as far as a skill. So I come up here to reports. And then just like the previous video, I can look between skills and progress. So I'm just going to leave it in skills for right now because I just want to come down here into the current level 5 and kind of see what are they working at. And sequencing is another one. They see they're working at high frequency words. I was looking at this word chains and I happened to see this low, average. And so I'm going to go, okay, word chains in level 5 is an area that I want to go to and pull some resources. So now I have some options. I could go to my crate and I could go into level 5 and I could look for the simple word chains and look for the lesson in there or the skill builder in there that I'm going to pull for those kids for those 2 or 3 days. Or I can come up here to resources. I'm looking down just specifically into my Core 5, and here I can find the lesson, the skill builder, or the connection for that level. I want to look at connections because that will not be in your crate. So I go to connections and I want to toggle up here to level 5. And then from there, it already starts kind of, selecting where is level 5 for me to look at. And there's the high frequency words. And there's these word chains that I had mentioned. Again, these are phonics skill areas to be working on. So I can click on my word chains automatically it's going to pop into another screen, and I can see then what are the activities that I could be doing with my students, maybe 1 or 2 of the days with those word chains. So, and then they give you some examples of word chains on the bottom here. So I could print this. I would suggest printing it and then filing it in your crate so you have it for later and you don't have to go looking for it. So, and this would be another way that you could work with your students. So this video was, the goal again was that you could go in, look at your students, you could quickly toggle, level your students, and then where can you automatically start seeing the ability to start seeing groups form from there? Where could I have the opportunity to get more than one student back to my table where I could start working on something with them to do that proactive or that pre-teaching for those students? So I hope this video helped. Good luck.